In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about something that I do every single time I spool up to a reel, just to make it a little bit more efficient and to help manage the line just a little bit more with brand new fishing line. And that's stretching your fishing line. This is something that I've been doing for years and years and years. My dad taught it to me when I was a kid, and I actually don't know many anglers who do this, and I've actually taught some people about it. And after I taught them about it, they were like, man, that really does make a huge difference. And so what you're gonna do is, like I said, I just spooled up my spinnerbait rod here with some 17-pound fluorocarbons, brand new right off the reel. And what we're going to do is we're going to stretch this line. The way that you do that is you find something to hook your bait to. So obviously you got to tie on a bait. I've tied on a spinnerbait here, and you've got to find something to hook your bait to. So that could be a trash can, a building, you know, I'm going to hook it to this trailer right here, but just find something to run your hook through and to hook it to, and then you're going to open up your spool and we're going to start walking. Now normally I'll walk off, I don't know, probably 40, 50 yards of line, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, depending on, you know, the pound test and all that kind of stuff. But walking off this line does a couple things for you. Number one, you're gonna be able to stretch it. And with fluorocarbon especially, it's not very supple right off of the spool, especially like higher end fluorocarbons. And so by stretching that line, it's going to make it just a little bit more supple and a little bit more manageable. So now we walked off about 40 yards of line. I'm going to engage my reel and I'm going to take one big step. And what that does is it puts a tension on that line. You guys can probably hear that. And that's going to allow me to actually start stretching this line. Now I'm just going to kind of sit here with my rod pointed at my bait and kind of just stretch that line, give it some stretches, really let that line kind of, you know, get a lot of that shock out of it. And that's what I call, like in fluorocarbon, I call it shock. Like I said, it's a little bit brittle. And so when you get it straight off the spool, what I've found is fluorocarbon straight off the spool, like if you slackline hook set or something like that, that brittleness can lead to break-offs and breaking things off. Where if I stretch fluorocarbon and really stretch it good, not only does it help it to be a little bit more supple, a little bit more manageable, but it also helps to kind of take some of that shock out of that line. It helps me to not break off fish because I like to jack their face and I'm a slackline hook setter. But you guys can see also it shows you that fluorocarbon has a lot more stretch than you think it does. Obviously not as much as mono, but it still stretches. And so a long cast like this, you guys can see why certain actions of rods and things like that are important. But now that we've stretched it really good, it's not a super long process. We're obviously got our reel engaged. We're going to put a little bit of tension on the rod because we want to keep tension on the line the entire time we're reeling it back. And that's what's going to actually help to seat this fluorocarbon onto the reel a little bit better and just help it to be a little bit more manageable. And so all we're going to do is start walking towards our bait and where we hooked it at and just keep tension on it the entire time and keep reeling it in. And like I said, this is what's actually going to help to seat that fluorocarbon down on the reel really, really well. And so if you know, spooled it up and you didn't have a way to keep tension on that spool of line while you were actually spooling up the reel, and you kind of, you know, overfilled it a little bit or something like that, you might have not actually overfilled it. You might just not have seated the line down onto the reel really well, and this is going to help to actually seat that line down on there. And as you guys can see, like I said, something that I do every single time helps to seat that line down onto there really, really well, helps it to be just a little bit more manageable and helps me to just enjoy the fishing process a little bit more. So stretch your fluorocarbon next time you go out, or stretch any fishing line that you put on your reel. See if it helps you, let me know. And if you guys want to see this reel in action and see me catch some fish on the old spinnerbait, click this video, it's popping up right here.